What is going on, NRL fantasy coaches? I'm back here with another pod, Herbie Farnworth. I got on last week and a guy who I think could be a really interesting pod for your team going forward. Now, a couple of things with Herbie, right? Big thing with Herbie is the work rate is fantastic. So he's a guy who's going to produce between 150 and 170 run meters a game, typically. He's a guy who is at a bit of a discount as well. So we jump into the stats. You got minus 47K here. You got a break even of 47 points. There isn't a major rush to do it, but at the same time, you can see 724 coaches have hopped on. People are looking at this very closely. Now, realistically, I think there's a big chance that a lot of us will be carrying multiple centers, just with how dodgy the guns have been this year. A lot of injuries, a lot of guys making origin. Our roster is going to be a bit more flexible. And with Herbie Farnworth, you get a guy who has an amazing buy schedule and a great run of fixtures coming up. I just want to throw over to Oscar from Rugby League Writers here first to talk through how the Dolphins have been attacking and particularly how it's going to dig into that Tigers matchup first.
Herbie Farnworth's return is a timely one for Redcliffe, given how Isaiah Katoa is pulling apart defensive lines right now. The Dolphins are playing with some really nice variation down that left edge, and you can just see the influence Katoa has on the defense, folding defenders in towards the ball and creating space out on the tram line for Tessie New here or Bostock on the edge. Farnworth runs a great line. He's a convincing decoy as well, and I think he profiles as a real go-to player for Katoa on what is the Dolphins' dominant left edge in attack.
Yeah, so I can seriously see that really exploiting the Tigers, right? So we look at the Tigers this week. John Bateman is out. Stafford Toa is out. You've got Naden coming in. You have Seyfarth coming in as well. It's a much weaker edge proposition, and I think Herbie Farnworth is going to be one of the guys who exploits that this week. So when I look at Herbie, if he's up against that sort of weaker edge, he's a guy who scored 47 points in base last week. That's a really exploitable matchup. You then got the Warriors, who have been very light in terms of their defensive capabilities. No Sean Johnson for them too. I think they're going to get pretty dusted up with no RTS as well. Round 13 major bye. So the Raiders, again, they're a team that has leaked a bunch of points. The round 14 bye isn't ideal. And you've got the Sharks, who are a tougher matchup. Storm without their origin players is much easier than with them. And then the Dragons as well. And then we get into the round 18 bye. It's a very minor bye round. So again, don't have to worry about that. And then the Bunnies in round 19, which gets you through the origin period before some matchups that are a little tougher. So Panthers, Titans, Roosters, right? But for Herbie Farnworth, I think there's a realistic world where he could go on an absolute tear through this period and be that top averaging center for fantasy. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that we will have Isaac Tungo at a really good price as well in a couple of weeks' time. So personally, I'm happy to carry a center or two on the bench, use those guys in loopholes, use them on the interchange slots, because we're really not getting consistent scores out of guys like Hughes, guys like Pierre Kura, any of those guys. So it doesn't worry me to have a center on the bench. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you hopping on Herbie Farnworth, or are you letting this one slide through the keeper? Let me know, and best of luck this week. See you around.